the prisoners when they fell under the weight of the cross. After all, we had a time schedule to work to like anybody else. I kicked him once or twice, and he struggled to his feet. He was losing blood from the scourge marks again. One more fall, and we would have to get someone to carry the cross for him, or he would die before we got him to the place of the skull.
Dear Jesus, I am sorry for my sins. I have denied you in my daily round by not speaking up for your gospel. When I deny you, you fall. Give me a heart of true faith. The fourth station, Jesus meets his mother. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you. He has come to the help of Israel, his servant, mindful of his mercy, according to the promises he made to our ancestors, of his mercy to Abraham and to his descendants forever.
I saw the expression on his face. He must have been in a living hell. But when the woman stepped out from the crowd to speak with him, I knew she was his mother. There was so much love in his face and eyes that I hurt somewhere inside. I pulled myself together. I was getting soft, and that was no good in my job.
Dear Jesus, I am sorry for my sins, for the times I have lacked compassion for the bereaved and those who witnessed the slow death of a loved one. For the times I have lacked love, give me a heart of love. Christ above in torment hangs, she beneath beholds the pangs of her dying glorious Son. The fifth station, Simon of Cyrene takes the cross. We adore you, O Christ, by your grace, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. On their way out, they came across a man from Cyrene, Simon by name, and enlisted him to carry his cross. He was looking tired, drained from lack of sleep.
And loss of blood. He had to be kept going, so I called the man out from the crowd, and he took the heavy cross on his broad shoulders. I looked at my prisoner. There was an awful weariness in his eyes, and yet still something of love with which he had greeted his mother. I was getting personally involved in this crucifixion. The man troubled me. I fought back my sympathetic thoughts. I was a soldier.
Dear Jesus, I am sorry for my sins, for the times I have refused to help share another's burden, for the time I have not wanted to get involved in another's troubles. Give me a heart for bringing comfort. The sixth station, Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your cross you have redeemed the world. But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion when he saw him. He went up and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them.
A woman detached herself from the crowd and came towards Jesus. She was carrying a piece of white linen with which she put to his face to absorb some of the blood, sweat and spittle to ease his discomfort. As she took the cloth away, there was the most beautiful imprint on it. I saw as he was really young, innocent, radiant. I was terrified. What was going on? What on earth was happening to me?
Jesus falls a second time.
We adore thee, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
When he went out to the gateway, another servant girl saw him and said to the people there, "This man was with Jesus the Nazarene." And again, with an oath, he denied it. "I do not know the man."
I couldn't bring myself to goad him. I knew I should. I hung back pretending to check the other two prisoners, but the centurion ordered me, "Kick him, get him to his feet, we are running behind time." I could see the crowd impatient for the spectacle as I kicked him. I felt a terrible pain shoot through my whole body because there in his eyes was love for me. No reproach, only love.
Yet still you look on me with love. Give me a heart for sorrow. The eighth station, Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem. We adore thee, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Large numbers of people followed him, and of the women too, who mourned and lamented for him. But Jesus turned to them and said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep rather for yourselves and for your children. For the days will surely come when people will say, 'Happy are those who are barren, the wombs that have never borne, the breasts that have never suckled.' Then they will say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' to the hills, 'Cover us.'"
I was frightened by his words. What did he mean? Mountains fall on us, hills cover us. What was going to befall us? He spoke with authority. Even in his agony, there was something majestic about him. He was unsettling me, making me think, form judgments for myself, instead of blindly obeying those in authority, the violent men.
Jesus, I am sorry for my sins, for the times your words frighten me, for the times I would rather not own up that you speak with the authority of divine truth. Give me a heart of obedience to your will.
Sins of his own nation saw him hang in desolation, till his spirit forth he sent. The ninth station, Jesus falls the third time. We adore you, O Christ, by your grace, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. A little later, the bystanders came up and said to Peter, "You are one of them for sure. Why, your accent gives you away." Then he started calling down curses on himself and swearing, "I do not know the man." At that moment, the cock crew.
I now felt physically sick. I, who had thought nothing of being a torturer, used as a soldier to any sort of violence and to doing what I was commanded to do without questioning. I managed to make it look as if I had kicked him, but I couldn't violate that frail body anymore. Something inside of me was becoming aware of the sheer goodness of this man, the innocence of this man.
Dear Jesus, I am sorry for my sins, for the many times I go on denying you, to others and to myself, through my thoughts, words, and deeds, causing you to fall again and again. Give me a heart of penitential grief. The 10th station, Jesus is stripped of his clothing. His state was divine, yet he did not cling to his equality with God, but emptied himself to assume the condition of a slave, and became as men are. And being as all men are, he was humbler yet, even to accepting death, death on a cross.
I turned my eyes from him. To look now would be to rob him of any small scrap of dignity he might have left. This had never bothered me before, but this man was different. There was something about him. What should I call it? Holiness. Yes, that was it. There was a holiness about him. There were faces in the crowd that I recognized, the hardened spectators who came for their own perverted enjoyment. Suddenly, I hated them all. I hated their jeering, derision, and squalor. In his emptiness and nakedness, he was filling and clothing me with himself. It was a miracle. It was crazy.
Station, Jesus is nailed to the cross. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing." Then they cast lots to share out his clothing.
How I did it, I'll never know. The anguish I felt, the shame, the sudden revulsion for the torturing, yet I had to drive a nail into one of his hands. My mind was reeling. Tears were starting to make my eyes smart. He looked at me and then said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Holding back the tears was so hard. I looked at his poor face. I wanted to shout, "Jesus, forgive me. I do know what I am doing. Your journey to the cross has changed my values just as I know it is changing my life." I found myself saying, "Thank God he has died. Thank God all his terrible suffering is over. In death, his face was beautiful. He was at peace now. I couldn't begin to understand all that was happening to me, but I knew beyond any shadow of a doubt that this was not the end, but a beginning. I would soon step into an exciting unknown that would be revealed. I would know true happiness.
Dear Jesus, I am sorry for my sins, for the times when I feel that my case is important, for the times when I am anxious to please others, no matter what the cost, for the days when I don't make time for others. Give me a heart of patience. Let me share with thee his pain, who for all my sins was slain, who for me in torments dies. The 13th station, Jesus is taken down from the cross. O you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Since all the children share the same blood and flesh, he too shared equally in it, so that by his death he could take away all the power of the devil, who had power over death, and set free all those who had been held in slavery all their lives by the fear of death.
I felt free. I suddenly felt that I had no longer been tied to my past life. I was changed. I would start afresh as soon as I could. I wanted to shout and sing for the sheer joy that surged through me. Dear Jesus, thank you. Thank you for your great gift to me, your gift of freedom.
Jesus is laid in the tomb. Next day, that is, when preparation day was over, the chief priests and the Pharisees went in a body to Pilate and said to him, Your Excellency, we recall that the impostor said, While he is still alive, after 3 days I shall rise again. Therefore, give the order to have the sepulchre kept secure until the 3rd day, for fear his disciples come and steal him away and tell the people he has risen from the dead. This last piece of fraud would be worse than what went before. You may have your guard, said Pilate to them. Go and make all as secure as you know how. So they went and made the sepulchre secure, putting seals on the stone and mounting a guard.
As they laid him in the tomb, I felt that all my past was being buried with him. All my burden of violence and evil was being taken away by him. All my sins forgiven and forgotten. Into my life, a ray of light was shining, a light to lighten all people always.
Behold the Lamb of God. Behold him who takes away the sins of the world. Blessed are those called to the supper of the Lamb. I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof. Don't say the word, and my soul shall be